Okay guys, we're doing 1.1 linear and absolute value equations. I'm going to work example 1. This is going to be, when I say example 1, I'm working a problem just like you're assigned problem number 1. So this isn't problem number 1, but it's just like it. So negative 3 plus 20 equals 2. The whole idea here is to find out what y equals. So our whole objective is to get y alone. Now I like to tell people to think of the equal sign as a fence. Okay, you got some things on the left side of the fence and you got some things on the right side of the fence. So until you guys get better at this, go ahead and draw that line on the equal sign and think about left side of the fence, right side of the fence, and whatever you do to one side of the fence, you got to do to both sides of the fence. So the whole idea here is to get this y all by itself. How do we do that? We have to eliminate some numbers. We have to eliminate this number, this 20, and we have to eliminate this negative 3. Now, which one do we eliminate first? Well, a good rule of thumb is eliminate the number furthest from the x. Or in this case, y. X, y, z, whatever letter they're using. So eliminate the number furthest from the x. In this case, eliminate the number furthest from the y. Well, which one's further? Well, this 3 is right beside the y. We call that a coefficient, but it's right beside the y. This 20 is a little bit further from the y, so that's the number that's going to be furthest away. That's the number I'm going to get rid of first. How do we get rid of a plus 20? We just do the opposite. We undo it. We minus 20. Now remember our fence. If we minus 20 from the left side of the fence, we have to minus 20 from the right side of the fence also to keep everything balanced. So plus 20 minus 20 cancels out. Those 20s are gone. I'm going to bring down my negative 30y because it's still here on the left side of the fence. I'm going to put my equal sign on the fence. I'm going to do the math over here. This 2 minus 20, that's going to be negative 18. You can do that on your calculator. Okay, so we got rid of the 20. Next, we have to get rid of this negative 3. Now, is it minus 3 or times negative 3? That's what we're asking ourselves. Are they subtracting 3 or are they multiplying by negative 3? Well, anytime a y is right next to a number like that, that's multiplication, okay? If it was subtraction, it would look like this. It would look like y minus 3. But what it actually is negative 3 times y. This is what's happening right now. Multiplication, not y minus 3. So how do we get rid of negative 3 times y, or y times negative 3? Well, we undo times negative 3 by dividing by negative 3. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 3. Now remember, when you're dividing, don't just divide the 3 off, divide the negative as well. Lots of people remember to divide this 3 by both sides, but they forget about the negative. The negative has to go too. So divide both sides by negative 3. Our negative 3's cancel, and y is going to equal positive 6. Okay, this is example 5. It's not number 5 on your homework, but it's just like it. So it'll show you how to do number 5. Okay, I'm going to start with my fence on the equal sign. And I'm looking at the left side and I'm looking at the right side. And we got a lot going on here. Okay, we got x's on both sides. We got parentheses. And most people are confused about which order to go first. You know, what to do first. So I want to remind you about your order of operations. You guys might have learned, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You know, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Or you might have just learned the initials PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S, PEMDAS. Okay, it's called the order of operations. And it's the order that we do things in. So the first thing, whenever we see a mess like this, the first thing we do is look for parentheses and see if we can simplify anything inside those parentheses. So I'm looking at the parentheses right here, and I see x minus 4. Well, x is a variable and 4 is an integer. Those aren't like terms, so there's nothing I can do there to simplify. Over here, same thing, x minus 3. X is a variable, 3 is an integer. They're not like terms. I can't add them together. So I'm done with parentheses. There's nothing I can do. Next thing I do is look for exponents, anything being raised to a power. In this equation, I don't see anything. So exponents are done. Next thing I do is look for multiply and divide. Now notice that multiply or divide, you don't multiply first and then divide. You just do whichever you see first. If you see multiply first, do multiply. If you see divide first, you do divide. Whatever you see first. So as I'm looking here, I see that I have some multiplication going right here, where the 5 is beside the parentheses, and right here, where the negative 2 is right beside the parentheses. So I'm going to take care of that multiplication. 5x minus 20, because 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. And I still have a minus 7 hanging around out here on the end. We'll get to him in a minute. Here's my equal sign. I'm going to do negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. All right, good. Next, I'm back over to my order of operations, and I want to add or subtract, whichever I see first. So as I'm going along, I'm looking over here. I have a 5x, I have a negative 20, or a minus 20, and I have a minus 7. Now the 5x, it doesn't have any other x's or any like terms to add to it, so I'm going to bring it down. But the minus 20 and the minus 7, those are like terms. They're both integers, so I'll put them together to get a negative minus, or a minus 27. Minus 27. I look on the right side and I'm looking at this negative 2x and this positive 6. Those are not like terms. They either both need to be x's or both need to be numbers to put them together. So since I can't put them together, I'll just bring them down for now. So I've added and subtracted everything I can do. What do I do now? All right, I have x's on both sides of my fence. I got a 5x over here, and I got a negative 2x over here. 5x on the left, negative 2x on the right. We need to get the x's on the same side of the fence. So when you have x's on both sides, what do? You eliminate the lower x. And by eliminate, I just mean undo it, or make it disappear, or get rid of it. So which x is lower, a positive 5x or a negative 2x? Well, between a positive and a negative number is always lower. So I'm going to get rid of the minus 2x. It's a negative 2x, but I'm going to think of it as minus 2x. How do you get rid of minus anything? You add it. So to get rid of a minus 2x, we're going to add 2x. Now we can't forget to add it to both sides. I'm going to put it over here underneath the 5x because I'm getting ready to add those two together. Minus 2x plus 2x cancels out, so it's gone. So on the right side, all I have left is a 6. On the left side, I'm looking at my 5x plus my 2x. That gives me a positive 7x, or just 7x. My minus 27 is still hanging around over there, and it's getting better. Now we got the x's on one side. Okay, what now? Well, I'm trying to get x alone. Remember, we want x alone on that side of the fence. And I got two numbers to get rid of. I got 7 and a negative 27, or minus 27 to get rid of. Which one do I get rid of first? Well, remember, we eliminate. I like the word eliminate. We eliminate the number furthest from the x. Which one's furthest from the x? This minus 27, because that 7 is right next to the x. So we're going to get rid of the minus 27 because it's furthest from the x. How do you get rid of a minus 27? You undo it. You do the opposite. You add 27. Don't forget to do it to the other side of the fence. Minus 27 plus 27 cancels out. So I just have 7x on the left side of the fence. Put your equal sign on the fence. We have 6 plus 27 is 33. Need a little more room here. All right, how do I get rid of the 7x? Excuse me, I don't want to get rid of the 7x. I want to leave the x there. I just want to get rid of the 7. Remember, this is 7 times x. We just don't write that little dot. We just understand that when a number and a letter are next to each other, it's multiplication. So how do I get rid of times 7? I undo it. I undo times by dividing. So to get rid of times 7, you're going to divide by 7 on both sides. My 7's cancel out over here, leaving just my x. And x equals, it's actually fine to leave this. as a fraction. If you want to turn it into a decimal, that's fine as well. But as long as this is more or less a simplified fraction, that's a correct answer. So x equals 33 over 7. Okay, this is an example to show you how to do problem number 13. The only thing weird about problem 13 is we have these fractions, okay? You guys already know the procedure for solving this. It's just we have these fractions that make everybody nervous, okay? And nobody likes fractions, so you're going to learn a little trick here to get rid of the fractions, which turns everything into whole numbers, which makes it something familiar that you're used to solving. So how do we get rid of these fractions? All right, so the trick is to ask yourself, what do all the denominators go into? Because that's the secret. Find out what all the denominators go into, and that's what we're going to multiply everything by. So your question, another way of saying your question is, what is the lowest number that both 2 and 4 go into? Because 2 and 4 are my denominators. So think about the numbers that 2 and 4 go into. They will both go into 4, they'll both go into 8, they'll both go into 12, they'll both go into 16, dot, dot, dot. They'll both go into a lot of numbers, but to make less work for ourselves, we want to pick the lowest number that they both go into, which is 4. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put brackets around this whole thing. This is how I do it. The book does it a different way. They're both fine. And I'm going to multiply everything inside the whole equation by 4. I'm going to make everything 4 times bigger. All right, so what I usually tell everybody is to rewrite the equation, but leave a little space in front of every term. So I'm leaving a space in front of the 1/2 x. I'm going to go ahead and put my plus sign there. I'm going to leave a space in front of the 7 because we're fixing to multiply it by 4. And I'm going to put my minus, and then I'm going to leave a space in front of the 1/4 x. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put my equals, and then I'm going to leave a space in front of the 19 over 2. That's how we get ready to multiply everything by 4. All right, so what I'm actually doing is just the distributive property. I'm just multiplying each of these terms by 4. All right, I like to spread it out this way because it just seems to make more sense to people. All right, since I'm multiplying 1/2 by 4, I'm going to change 4 into 4 over 1. Since I'm multiplying by a fraction, I'm going to make the 4 a fraction as well. But on the 7, let me use red here. Since 7's a whole number, I'm just going to leave 4 as a whole number, and I'll multiply it by the 4. Now I'm over here at the 1/4. Since that's a fraction, I'm going to change 4 to 4 over 1, so it's a fraction as well. And over here on the 19 over 2, since it's a fraction, I will change 4 to a fraction and make it 4 over 1. So everybody's getting multiplied by 4. If I'm multiplying fractions, I'll make the 4 a 4 over 1. If I'm multiplying whole numbers, I'll make it a whole number 4. All right, let's look at this piece right here. 4 over 1 times 1 over 2. You guys can use your calculator to do this. It's going to end up being 4 over 2, which simplifies to 2x. Do that on your calculator. 4 over 1 times 1 over 2. You're going to get 4 over 2, which simplifies to 2. Plus 4 times 7 is 28. This is calculator work that you guys can do. Back to the calculator. 4 over 1 times 1 over 4 is going to give us 4 over 4. Do that on your calculator. 4 over 4 is just 1. So we have 1x, but you know what? We never write that 1 in front of the x, so we're just going to call it x. I bring down my equal sign, and 4 over 1 times 19 over 2, that's going to be 38 over 2, which is going to be 19 over 1. Sorry about that. That's not going to be 38 over 2. It's going to be 76 over 2, which is going to be 38 over 1, which is going to simplify to 38. My mistake. Oops. Your calculator will do that for you. All right, from here on in, it's pretty straightforward. Here's your fence. I have x's that I can put together. 2x take away 1x is 1x, which I'm just going to write as x. I still have a plus 28 here. Don't forget about him. Equals 38, and I only have one number to get rid of to get the x alone, so I minus 28 from both sides. 28's go away, and x winds up being 10.